My former sister-in-law and I found out we were pregnant on the same day. Robert Hamilton was thrilled. He said he'd get us both a gift, so he drove Jessica overnight to have a large gold bracelet made. I waited, full of anticipation, but the next day I received an abortion procedure form with his signature already on it. Sarah, you're getting rid of this child. I've already scheduled the abortion procedure. Rest well for the next couple of days, and I'll come pick you up for the hospital on Monday afternoon at 2. I stared at him in disbelief, my eyes red, asking him why. He just looked at his former sister-in-law, who was sitting nearby beaming with joy, his expression full of tenderness. Jessica looked at me with disdain, not a shred of respect in her voice. Naturally, it's because Robert needs to take care of me. My sister was Robert's first wife, and before she died, she specifically told him to take good care of me. Who do you think you are? Just a second wife. What right do you have to come before my sister's will and me? In short, Robert told you to get rid of it, so get rid of it. Why so many questions? If my sister were still here, she'd support whatever decision Robert made without question. She wouldn't ask questions like you, without any traditional wifely duties. Robert helped her stand up, his gaze towards me ice cold. Jessica is right. I need to take care of her and can't be distracted by taking care of you as well. The abortion is decided. If you like children, we can have another one after Jessica's baby is safely born. Also, move out of this mansion starting today. Lily told me before she died that if Jessica ever got pregnant, I should have her move into this mansion. She prepared many gifts here to celebrate for Jessica, so it won't be convenient for you to stay. After your procedure, I'll have someone take you to another mansion to live. Don't worry, I'll come visit you when I have time. Robert's gaze was heavy, fixed on me, waiting for my response. I pressed my lips together, silently refusing his arrangement. It was the first time in 5 years I hadn't answered him. After a moment of silence, Jessica suddenly frowned and slumped onto the sofa, her slender hand reaching out to Robert. Robert, I suddenly feel so dizzy. I wonder if it's because of all this commotion. Can you take me upstairs to rest? Robert's brow furrowed, and he scooped her up in a bridal carry, walking past me and straight towards the stairs. Before his figure disappeared around the corner, he didn't forget to instruct the household staff to pack my luggage. Maria walked over and looked at me, her face expressionless. Miss Sarah, Mr. Hamilton and Miss Jessica said all your things must be moved out, and they told me to watch you, just in case you accidentally take something belonging to the mistress. She was brought in by Robert's first wife, Lily. Like Jessica, she showed me little respect. Perhaps it was more accurate to say everyone in this mansion showed me little respect, which is why they had always called me Miss Sarah for 5 years. And Lily, the woman who had been dead for 5 years, was the true mistress in their hearts. I had spoken to Robert about this more than once, but whenever it concerned Lily, he would turn into a completely different person. Sarah, I told you, I can marry you, but you must never dream of taking Lily's place. You are Mrs. Hamilton, and yet you are not Mrs. Hamilton. I hope you can understand your position. That was what Robert said to me the first time I showed dissatisfaction with the address Miss Sarah. I gave a bitter smile and followed Maria upstairs to the second floor. I didn't have many belongings, so packing was easy. As I tidied the dressing table, my eyes landed on the wedding rings Robert had personally put on my finger when we got married. The men's ring lay quietly in the box, still brand new, while the women's ring on my finger was somewhat dull from years of wear. After much thought, I picked it up and walked out of the room, intending to find Robert. I still wanted to fight for the precious child inside me. But as I passed the room on the 3rd floor where his former wife used to live, I heard deliberate, drawn-out cooing and flirting from inside. Robert, be careful, don't hurt the baby. Through the crack in the door, Jessica was sprawled on the bed, whimpering and simpering. And Robert lifted his head from the foot of the bed, a strange sheen on his lips. My heart suddenly ached, my breath hitched, and tears streamed down my face instantly. I had never imagined the care Robert spoke of would be this kind of care. Inside the room, Robert began to move again. He seemed to especially like Jessica's simpering. His gaze lingered as he reached out to brush the sweat-soaked hair from her ear. I had seen him brush hair back countless times in various settings over the past 5 years, but I never thought I would see them like this. Lily, I miss you so much. As Jessica groaned softly, Robert finally stopped. He leaned down and tightly hugged a somewhat dazed Jessica, continuously calling out Lily's name. I knew he was looking at the person who lived in his heart through Jessica. 5 years had passed, and I hadn't waited for Robert to open his heart to me, but instead waited to find Robert entangled with the sister-in-law who resembled his deceased wife. A lump formed in my chest, making me feel suffocated and nauseous. I stumbled down the stairs, my steps unsteady. Maria stood there, her face stern and serious. Miss Sarah, Mr. Hamilton and Miss Jessica have instructed that no unauthorized person is allowed on the 3rd floor. That's where the mistress lived when she was alive, and it's not to be disturbed by others. How could you go upstairs without Mr. Hamilton's permission? What if you touched something the mistress liked and upset her in heaven? I looked at her, my face pale, and walked back towards my room. Feeling lost. I know, it won't happen again. Please don't tell Robert about me going up just now. I'm afraid it will remind him of painful memories. Don't worry. I just wanted to find him in the study to talk about something. I didn't see him, so I came back down. I didn't touch anything else. Closing the door, I sank to the floor, leaning against it. 5 years ago, Grandpa Hamilton found my family and proposed a marriage. At that time, Robert's first wife, Lily, had been dead from illness for less than half a year, and news of Robert attempting suicide several times out of grief for his deceased wife was all over the internet. This led to no one in high society being willing to enter a marriage alliance with the Hamilton family, after all, who would want to marry their precious daughter to a man bent on death. So Grandpa Hamilton found me, from humble origins, about to face family bankruptcy and debt, with my father critically ill and no money for treatment. He sat in front of me, speaking earnestly. When you came for the company interview, I knew at first glance that you were the one. For now, you're the only one who can do this. Robert is stubborn. If there isn't a kind and understanding person to accompany him, I'm truly afraid he'll do something foolish. His aged eyes saw straight through my thoughts. Grandpa knows that before Robert married Lily, you liked him very much. Grandpa doesn't ask you to continue liking him, only that you save his life. Of course, in return, I can help your parents cover the cost of the special medication. I agreed. On one hand, my family truly needed Grandpa Hamilton's help, and on the other, I genuinely liked Robert, before he married Lily. The door opened from the outside. I wiped away my tears in embarrassment and stood up. Silhouetted against the light, Robert couldn't see my face clearly. He frowned. Maria said you were looking for me? I looked up at Maria standing at the top of the stairs. Catching my gaze, she quickly looked away. I opened my mouth, and then realized. Of course, why would she take anything I said to heart? I wasn't the mistress in her heart. Not only not in her heart, but not in Robert's either. Robert leaned past me and walked into the room with Jessica, looking around, finally sitting on the sofa. All packed? From now on, no matter what you need, you are not allowed to go up to the 3rd floor. If you can't find me, call me, understand? His slightly oppressive gaze landed on me, making it hard for me to breathe. Understood, it won't happen again. Robert grunted with satisfaction and nonchalantly lit a cigarette. Did you see anything when you went up just now? I froze, looking up at him, realizing he was testing me. I swallowed past my dry throat and shook my head. I didn't see you in the study, so I came back down. In the silence, I took a deep breath, held back my tears, and suppressed the bitterness in my heart. Robert, I want to keep this child. Robert's hand, flicking ash, paused. He slowly exhaled a smoke ring, deep in thought. Seeing his hesitation, hope flickered in my heart. Don't worry, I can take care of myself. I absolutely won't be a burden to you. Before I could finish, Jessica suddenly cried out, stepping away from Robert and waving her arm. Robert, why are you smoking again? Did you forget what the doctor told you at the hospital yesterday? Robert froze, immediately putting out the cigarette and apologizing. Sorry, my bad. I won't smoke anymore. Jessica smiled and playfully poked his forehead. That's better. You didn't even smoke when my sister was here, but now. Her gaze turned to me, undisguised disgust in her eyes. Sarah, what kind of wife are you? Don't you know smoking is bad for the lungs? Just watching Robert smoke and not saying anything, I really don't know what kind of person Grandpa Hamilton found for Robert as a second wife. She sneered. And you think you can have a baby? You can't even take care of your own husband. How could you possibly take care of a child by yourself? When my sister was pregnant, she worried Robert couldn't handle both the company and the family, so she took care of herself for a while without telling him, but then, even someone as careful as my sister couldn't manage it, let alone you? Or do you think you can be more careful than my sister? Her words successfully triggered Robert's pain. His face darkened, and his tone was decisive. Sarah, you cannot keep this child. My heart twisted into a knot. The sense of grievance and collapse poured out uncontrollably. Why? Didn't you say you wanted to have a child with me? That was 3 years after we got married. For those 3 years, Robert and I had been polite to each other, and occasionally intimate. I seemed to have truly healed him. He no longer did things to harm himself or contemplate suicide out of grief. The smell of smoke and alcohol on him was replaced by the scent of pleasant men's cologne, and he would hold me after intimacy and fall asleep peacefully. One night late, he suddenly told me, Sarah, let's have a child. I felt my heart pound. After that night, Robert and I were completely open with each other. There was only us, with no barriers between us. But everything changed after Jessica appeared. She came back to the States 2 years ago. As soon as she returned, she sought out Robert, crying and saying she had gotten divorced. From then on, Robert changed. He became someone whose heart and eyes were only on Lily again. He even started to hate me. I knew you didn't have good intentions. Look at yourself. What kind of person are you, daring to dream of replacing Lily in my heart? Filthy, low class. He didn't acknowledge me as his wife, threw a signed divorce decree at me, and didn't allow Grandpa Hamilton to enter my name into the Hamilton family tree. Furthermore, every year on Qingming Festival, a traditional Chinese grave-sweeping day, he would have people force me to kneel and apologize in front of Lily's grave. Jessica said it was what I deserved for having ill intentions of replacing her sister. She said her sister was Robert Hamilton's first wife, and I was just a second wife, so I had to pay respects to her sister, calling it a ritual reserved for concubines, a humiliation. What's the difference between a second wife and a low-class concubine from ancient times? Making you pay respects to my sister is letting you off easy. If it were anyone else trying to replace my sister, Robert would have ruined their reputation long ago. You're the one who got lucky and is still acting innocent, pretending you didn't want to marry into the Hamilton family and be a rich madam. Do you dare say you never once thought about marrying Robert Hamilton? I didn't dare say it, because I used to want to marry Robert Hamilton very, very much. But I truly, truly never thought about replacing Lily in Robert Hamilton's heart. I just hoped Robert Hamilton could open his heart to me, even just a little bit. Even a little bit would have made me ecstatic. But I knelt before Lily's grave, my forehead bruised and broken, and didn't get a single glance from Robert Hamilton. He would only say, Sarah, you have impure intentions. Paying respects and apologizing to Lily is what you should do. My thoughts were pulled back by Robert's cold voice. No. He looked at me, enunciating each word, his face full of disgust. I never once thought about having a child with you. Sarah, someone like you isn't fit to give birth to my child. My head buzzed, a ringing in my ears. Robert had personally denied the 3 years we had spent together. He left after saying this. Before leaving, he forcibly removed the wedding ring from my hand. You can wear this ring again when you've cleansed your heart. My finger was bare, and the heart I had desperately clung to was also empty. I couldn't enter Robert's heart, and I finally couldn't bear to cling to him any longer. Jessica smirked, bumping my shoulder hard, acting emboldened. You, thinking you can have Robert's child? Where do you get off thinking that, you lowlife? Let me tell you, if it weren't for Grandpa Hamilton interfering, the one sitting in the Mrs. Hamilton position right now would be me. She leaned closer, smiling maliciously. After all, I have a face that looks 8 parts like Lily, and you? Sarah, what do you have? You're not narcissistically thinking Robert has forgotten Lily and fallen in love with you, are you? My vision blurred. Jessica's smiling face swam before me. You saw everything upstairs just now, didn't you? Did Robert ever treat you so gently? Did he? She suddenly pulled down her collar. There were dense red marks scattered on her pale neck. Leave any marks of love on you? The taste of rest spread in my mouth. No, he never had. Robert had never left any mark of lingering affection on me, nor had he ever said any words of fondness, liking, or love to me. Just between us, when Robert and I finished up in Lily's old room just now, after Robert's breathing calmed, he held me and said, "Jessica, I love you." "Sarah, how long do you think you can keep that Mrs. Hamilton position?" She glanced outside, then turned back, smiling at me, taking 3 white pills from her pocket. "Sarah, how about we do an experiment? I don't want this illegitimate child that doesn't belong to Robert anyway. Can you help me?" She raised her hand and swallowed the pills. Her other hand reached towards my belly. Instinctively, I covered my belly with one hand to dodge and used the other to stop her. But at that moment, she shifted her target, grabbing both my hands and trying to slap her own face with them. I used my other hand to stop her, but she kept entangling me. During the struggle, she kept trying to push my belly. In the back and forth of the struggle, she suddenly pushed me away and fell backward, hitting the back of her head hard against the door frame. Me. Robert, who had returned, strode in, fire in his eyes. "Sarah! How dare you!" The stinging pain in my palm and the discomfort in my abdomen made my already dizzy head spin even more. Instinctively, I cried out to Robert for help. "Robert, I'm so dizzy, so uncomfortable. Take me to the hospital." Before I could finish, I was interrupted by Jessica's painful groans. "Oh, Robert, Jessica hurts so much, my tummy hurts so much, my head hurts too, what do I do?" I was just trying to persuade Sarah to listen to you more, and she got angry at me. "Robert, am I going to die?" I froze, opening my mouth to argue. That's not how it was her. "Stop pretending." Robert cut me off angrily, looking at me as if he wanted to tear me apart on the spot. "Sarah, I misjudged you. You disappoint me greatly." Robert picked up Jessica and walked out, comforting her as he went. "Don't be scared, Jessica, I'm here. I won't let anything happen to you." Even though I was already heartbroken, Robert's attitude of immediately believing Jessica and abandoning me still pierced my heart. I managed to prop myself up, my eyelids feeling like 1,000 pounds, incredibly heavy. I didn't know what the hospital had said. I was locked in my room. 2 hours later, Robert's people forcibly took me to the hospital, rolled up my sleeve, and pushed me in front of a doctor. Robert sat beside us, his aura chilling. "Draw it." The nurse gasped, trembling as she asked me, "Miss Sarah, Miss Jessica is bleeding heavily from a miscarriage, and the hospital blood bank is low, so..." I understood. Since Jessica and I both had B-type blood, Robert had brought me here. I looked at Robert with a cold face. "I'm still pregnant, I can't give a lot of blood." Unexpectedly, Robert just gave me a cold glance and said something that plunged me into an ice cellar. "You're getting rid of it in a couple of days anyway. What does it matter? If I can't save Jessica, I'll make sure you experience the pain of being said into a miscarriage too." I stared him down in silence. The nurse was caught in the middle, in a difficult position. After half a minute, I forced a smile and compromised. This would be the last time. "Draw it." A bag of blood was taken by Robert and the doctor, completely disregarding me shivering from cold and pain behind them. A kind nurse took pity and helped me to rest. I grabbed her hand. "Excuse me, can I schedule an abortion procedure for the weekend?" The nurse froze, then hesitated before nodding. "I think so. Do you need to schedule an abortion?" I bit my lip and nodded hard, trying my best to stay conscious. Robert didn't want this child, did he? Fine, I'll listen to him. I'll listen to him about everything. The day I scheduled the procedure, Robert happened to be discharging Jessica from the hospital. When I ran into them in the hospital restroom, Jessica saw me. She was touching up her lipstick in the mirror, exuding the air of a victor. "Sarah, my experiment worked. To thank you for your cooperation, I'll bring you a gift after Robert picks you up for your procedure this afternoon. It's a very special gift. You'll definitely love it. Look forward to it." She walked out in low heels and got into the car at the hospital entrance, her fingers intertwined with Robert's. I didn't linger either and turned towards the obstetrics and gynecology department. At 1 in the afternoon, Robert Hamilton and Jessica walked into the new mansion but didn't see me. Robert frowned, asking the staff impatiently, "Where is she?" The new staff member, unfamiliar with the Hamilton family rules, answered nervously. "The mistress slept here for a while yesterday after she came back, but she hasn't been back since. The mistress also said she left something you wanted most in the bedroom and asked you to open it yourself." Jessica clicked her tongue impatiently. What kind of drama is she pulling? Throwing a tantrum at a time like this? Robert pursed his lips and strode upstairs. In the empty bedroom, a file folder lay quietly on the bed. The paper inside was pulled out, revealing the words "divorce decree" at the top. Robert's brow twitched. He rushed over and pulled out the decree. An anesthetic was injected into my hand. When I woke up, I was lying on a hospital bed outside the operating room. A nurse passing by reminded me to buy a heating pad and some medication from the self-service kiosk and kindly gave me a slightly thicker coat. After I recovered, I didn't hesitate. I grabbed my things and headed for the airport. Grandpa Hamilton had helped me cover my father's special medication expenses back then. But because my father was seriously ill, and the specialist doctors for his rare condition in the States were studying and training overseas at the time, after much deliberation, my parents decided to transfer him overseas for treatment, taking the family business with them. Unexpectedly, that treatment lasted 5 years. The night I found out I was pregnant, I happily called my parents. Coincidentally, my father's condition had completely stabilized, although he still needed medication. My parents and I cried with joy over the phone. At that time, I even said I would visit them overseas when I had time. Unexpectedly, I covered my belly with a self-mocking smile. Well, it's also good. I won't have to live apart from my parents anymore. Before boarding, I edited a message about what had recently happened and sent it to my mother, along with a photo of my flight's boarding time. I didn't expect Grandpa Hamilton to contact me again after 5 years. His voice was the same as 5 years ago, only slightly choked up. "I know everything about you and Robert. Sigh, our Hamilton family has wronged you. But Grandpa still has to ask, Sarah, have you really decided to divorce Robert? He's looking everywhere for you now. Maybe he's realized he went too far." I interrupted Grandpa Hamilton, feeling completely calm. "Grandpa, I've really thought it through. When you found me and asked me to save Robert's life, and you would help me, I did it. I'm tired now and don't want to be entangled with him anymore. He loves Lily. Perhaps you should find someone who looks like Lily to be by his side. Maybe then he'll truly settle down." After ending the call, I turned off my phone. Grandpa Hamilton told me that Robert had searched every hospital, frantically saying he had to find me and get an explanation. Jessica followed behind him. No matter how much she tried to persuade him, Robert was indifferent. He tightly clutched the signed divorce decree. At the end of the decree were his and Sarah's names, signed one after the other. Sarah's name was in fresh handwriting, the ink not even dry yet, while his was older. Although well preserved, it still showed signs of age. He suddenly remembered the 3 years after he married Sarah. After Lily died, he had been listless all the time. It was Sarah's appearance that slowly brought back some hope for life. When did things start to change? When did he sign the divorce decree? He couldn't remember. He had no memory of any of it. In a fit of anger and urgency, he hit his head twice. Frustration enveloped him. No one dared to step forward to calm him down. After a long time, Jessica reached out a trembling hand to pull him. "It's too late, Robert, let's go back." Maybe Sarah just didn't want to get rid of the child and deliberately hid. "She doesn't have much money on her, she'll probably be back in a few days. Robert looked at her face and suddenly found the words coming out of her mouth so irritating. The hospital has surveillance footage proving Sarah did go into the operating room, and it also captured Sarah unconscious on a hospital bed outside the operating room for 3 whole hours until the anesthetic wore off. Finally, Sarah bought medication and a heating pad and stumbled out of the hospital. Are you telling me now that all of this was staged by Sarah? Jessica, I never realized before, you have so little empathy? Jessica froze, looking at Robert in disbelief. She wanted to refute his last sentence, but she opened her mouth and didn't know how, because she truly didn't sympathize with Sarah. If it hadn't been for Sarah, Robert should have married her in the first place. Her relationship with Lily was actually quite average, at least in her opinion. She also didn't understand why Lily would instruct Robert to take care of her after her death. But, when an opportunity presented itself, why not seize it? When the news of Lily's death from illness reached overseas, she immediately filed for divorce from her husband. But her husband made it impossible, so she wasted some time on the divorce. Unexpectedly, by the time her husband finally fell for her trap and had an affair, and she returned to the States with the divorce lawsuit, Robert had remarried. And he married some low-class woman from humble origins that she had never even heard of. She had lost both her husband and gained nothing. How could she accept that? So she had to stay by Robert's side. She had to use this face that looked like Lily's to drive Sarah away. Now that she was finally about to get what she wanted, how could she easily give up? No, that's not it, Robert, you misunderstood me. I just remembered that Sarah is calculating and I was afraid you'd be deceived by her again, so I thought too much. I'm sorry, Robert, it's my fault. Let's keep looking. Maybe Sarah is resting in some hotel right now. After all, she just had the procedure, didn't she? With a strategic retreat, Robert's face finally softened a bit, but his voice was still cold and tinged with deep weariness. You go back and rest. I'll handle her affairs, you don't need to worry. Jessica was unwilling, biting her lip, trying to say something more, but Robert directly ordered someone to take her back. Before she got in the car, Robert's scrutinizing gaze fell on her, making her break out in a cold sweat. Robert didn't know why he was looking at this younger sister like that. Yes, in his heart, he only saw Jessica as a younger sister, a sister-in-law. That night they were entangled on the 3rd floor a few days ago was the only time, the last time, he had been so absurd. He missed Lily too much, which is why. But afterward, he had also doubted Jessica's motive for deliberately imitating Lily to seduce him. The argument between Sarah and Jessica had distracted him, but now, thinking back, Jessica was probably not simple either. Robert's head ached badly. Suddenly, he remembered someone, Grandpa Hamilton. Yes, that's right. Grandpa Hamilton must know Sarah's whereabouts. He was the one who brought Sarah to be by his side in the first place. When Robert rushed to the old family estate, Grandpa Hamilton was scolding Maria and others, and Jessica was among them. Seeing Robert, Jessica cried out for help. Robert, help me, my tummy hurts so much, I just had a miscarriage. In hesitation, Grandpa Hamilton forcefully tapped his cane. You have the nerve to say that. How could Lily have a sister like you? Do you think I, an old man, don't know about the dirty things you've done? Do you think the staff in the house you've bribed will be loyal to you forever? Robert's eyelid twitched. Grandpa, what do you mean by that? Grandpa Hamilton snorted and ordered someone to bring Maria forward. Maria begged for mercy, and under Grandpa Hamilton's pressure, she confessed everything about looking down on and disrespecting Sarah openly and secretly for 5 years. She also spilled the truth about Sarah seeing Robert and Jessica together that day and Jessica's miscarriage. With every word Robert heard, his steps faltered. Hearing the end, he grabbed Jessica by the collar in a rage. You dared to deceive me and frame Sarah like this. How dare you? How dare you? Jessica shook her head in terror, trying to defend herself. Grandpa Hamilton sighed deeply. His cane finally landed on Robert's back. I'm sorry, Sarah. You two got along well after you married. I thought you would protect her, but I didn't expect. Sigh. Robert's eyes were bloodshot, veins bulging on his forehead. He wanted to strangle Jessica on the spot. Sarah is my wife. How dare you collude with the staff to treat her like that? No, Robert, listen to me explain. Grandpa Hamilton snorted and immediately ordered someone to cover her mouth. The evidence is conclusive. What is there to explain? Noisy. He looked at his favorite grandson, now lacking his usual gentle demeanor. Why are you acting like this? Didn't you personally sign the divorce decree and give it to her? Didn't you personally schedule the abortion procedure form for her? Are you throwing a tantrum and demanding answers now going to bring her back? Is it going to make her change her mind? Robert's face was pale, his back slumped. I. He smacked himself across the face in frustration, standing in the cold wind for a long time, unable to recover. On the other side, my plane finally landed. The airport at 3 in the morning brought not only drowsiness but also a bone-chilling wind. My mother's eyes were red as she quickly draped a thick winter coat over me, bringing a trace of warmth to my body. My silly daughter, you need to rest well during the post-procedure recovery period after a miscarriage. What if you develop health problems and suffer when the wind blows later? Hearing my mother's words of concern, the grievances in my heart could no longer be suppressed. In a corner of the airport, only my suppressed, sorrowful sobs could be heard. I hugged my mother and cried for a long, long time, as if to cry away all the grievances I had suffered in that marriage. By the end, my voice was hoarse. To be honest, I no longer cared about anything that happened at the Hamilton old family estate in the States. As for Robert Hamilton, I had become completely disheartened and no longer lingered. Mom, let's go. I want to see Dad. After 5 years, Dad had lost a lot of weight and gained many white hairs. His eyes were red as he looked at me, constantly patting my shoulder to comfort me. It's my fault. If I hadn't mismanaged the business back then and gotten sick, you wouldn't have suffered these grievances. I held back tears, shaking my head repeatedly. It's all in the past, Dad. From now on, I just want to stay with you and Mom. I don't want to be separated from you anymore. My parents took me home. Because I had just had a miscarriage, and for the sake of my health, my mother specifically arranged a month of nutritious meals for me. I didn't want to waste a month doing nothing, so I offered to help Dad with company affairs, starting by learning the basics. The day my post-procedure recovery period ended, I also received the divorce decree that Grandpa Hamilton had helped mail to me, just as I wished. I was completely free. But I didn't expect Robert Hamilton to show up after the divorce decree was issued. He knelt silently at the door, not saying a word, refusing to leave no matter how much my parents yelled or tried to drive him away. Only when he saw me would he say a word or two. Sarah, I was foolish. Give me a chance to start over. Let me pursue you, okay? Sarah, I've already lost Lily, I can't lose you too. I felt nothing about this. My parents worried that his appearance would affect my current state. I just shook my head lightly. Mom, Dad, don't worry about me, and don't worry about him. He'll leave when he can't take it anymore. No one can go more than 3 days without eating or drinking. As expected, before the 3rd day arrived, Robert Hamilton's figure disappeared, leaving only his assistant standing at the door. Miss Sarah, Mr. Hamilton suddenly felt unwell last night and fainted. He's in the hospital now. Can you please go see him? I walked past him expressionlessly, not taking his words to heart. On my way to the company, I actively contacted Jessica. I knew that with Jessica's personality, she would never easily let go of Robert Hamilton, otherwise, she wouldn't have been so entangled with him until the divorce decree was issued that she couldn't find time to look for me. But I didn't expect the first thing she did after going overseas was to come see me. She sat in front of me, no longer looking as triumphant as before, even appearing somewhat panicked and scared. The coffee in front of her had gone cold. She glared at me resentfully. I'll take Robert back. Please, now that you're divorced, just live your life far away from him and stop bothering him, okay? Her words made me laugh. It seemed she hadn't gotten what she wanted after I left and hadn't been able to marry Robert Hamilton. You may not have a brain, but you have eyes, don't you? Which dog eye of yours saw me actively bothering him? How dare you talk to me like that? Jessica looked at me, her eyes full of fury. I calmly took a sip of coffee. Honestly, you're nothing like your sister. Wah dash. I tore apart and trampled on her years of pretense. Aside from your face, there's nothing about you that resembles your sister. You're not worth a single strand of her hair. I had met Lily once. Rumor in high society had it that the Hamilton family and the well-matched Jiang family had raised a pair of golden boy and girl, referring to Robert Hamilton and Lily. Unlike Jessica's arrogance, Lily truly was like a bright moon on earth, clean, pure, and charming. Frankly, Jessica was nothing like Lily except for her appearance. I didn't understand why Robert Hamilton could mistake Jessica for Lily. He loved Lily so much, yet he couldn't distinguish between the sisters better than I, an outsider, could. The reason, perhaps, was because Lily had never loved Robert Hamilton. Yes, she didn't love Robert Hamilton, which is why she was obedient to him, without emotion, completely indifferent. The more unattainable something is, the more one craves it, which is why Robert Hamilton remained fixated on her after her death. Ultimately, Robert Hamilton didn't love her that much. Otherwise, he should have been able to distinguish between Lily and Jessica better than an outsider. How could he mistake Jessica for Lily and even end up in bed with her? As for Jessica, her lifelong pain was being seen by others as forever inferior to Lily, who was already dead. The living cannot compete with the dead. Jessica was furious, but she couldn't do anything to me because Robert Hamilton would no longer indulge her unconditionally like before. If things went wrong, she might immediately be sent back to the States for a marriage alliance with a notorious philanderer 10 years her senior. She had finally escaped, she absolutely couldn't go back. Who knew if that philanderer had some sort of venereal disease? I smiled, paid, and left. So this is what it felt like to step on someone you disliked. Robert Hamilton waited beside the coffee shop, his face pale. He pursed his lips and glanced at Jessica. I'll have someone send her back to the States overnight. From now on, she won't bother you again. I nodded and suddenly said, you should go back too, Robert Hamilton. Let's just leave it at this. You didn't really like me that much, did you? He was actually more selfish than I thought. He just couldn't accept that I, who had always been docile, had broken free from his control. His lips trembled. But I treated you so badly, I even caused you to miscarry, I condoned others' disrespect towards you. I still owe you. I cut him off sharply. I don't need it. I don't need this kind of feigned compensation. It's troubling. Let's not see each other again. Perhaps my words had an effect, or perhaps Robert Hamilton's temporary obsession had finally passed. He didn't bother me again. 3 years later, my parents and I planned to move our company's assets back to the States. When I went to a venue with a bidding project, preparing to re-enter the market in the States, I saw Robert Hamilton again. He was calmer, but also looked much gloomier. As soon as Robert Hamilton saw that I was the bidding opponent, he immediately decided to withdraw from the bidding, giving me the advantage. I refused. I don't need it. Let's compete fairly. I'll make you lose convincingly. I was fully prepared. There was no doubt, I narrowly won against Robert Hamilton. I happily shared the good news with my parents. At the same time, I received congratulations from Robert Hamilton. He was smiling even more happily than I was. Congratulations. Sarah, I miss you very much. He said the last few words very softly. I pretended not to hear. Thank you. Before leaving, he held out his hand to me. Can I hug you again? He looked at me lingeringly, his eyes full of affection. I refused him with silence again. He smiled bitterly and lowered his hand. Goodbye. I walked away in high heels, but at the door, I overheard people whispering. It turned out that Grandpa Hamilton had passed away 3 years ago. After his death, the few people in the Hamilton family with power argued fiercely and ended up dividing the Hamilton family's assets. And Robert Hamilton, Grandpa Hamilton's most beloved grandson, only received a small portion of the Hamilton family's business. This bidding was Robert Hamilton gambling everything he had. If he won, he could return to his former status. If he lost, he would go bankrupt. I looked back at Robert Hamilton. He was still standing there, smiling bitterly. I pursed my lips. In the end, I was pulled back to reality by the phone in my hand. Hello, Mom, I'm back now. Really? Then I'll buy some drinks and we can celebrate together. I lifted my foot and walked outside, no longer paying attention to the person or events behind me. It didn't concern me anymore. Robert Hamilton and I had broken ties 3 years ago.